Chapter 1. The Arrival of the Unexpected Bride. The starship Aurora's dawn cut through the velvet black void like a silver spear, its engines humming steadily as it approached the orbit of Viridia Prime, a planet renowned across the quadrant for its lush, emerald forests and ancient ruins whispered about in both scientific and mythological circles. Marcus Langley stood alone in the observation bay, his eyes reflecting the swirling clouds and vibrant blues and greens of the planet below, but his mind was a storm of apprehension and restless thoughts. A systems engineer by trade, Marcus had been dispatched here on what was supposed to be a routine assignment, maintaining and upgrading the colony's quantum communication network. Routine, however, was a relative term when dealing with the farthest reaches of the Terran Federation's expansion and the planets they claimed rarely played by Earth's rules. He had expected cultural adjustments, strange foods, and maybe some curious glances from the native Viridians, but he had not expected the Federation's newest mandate to uproot his life entirely. The intercom's sudden chime startled him from his reverie, a soft but unmistakably firm female voice breaking the sterile silence of the observation deck. "Humans are required to have a wife, and I've been assigned to you." Those words echoed in Marcus's mind like a cryptic prophecy, almost surreal in their implication. He turned swiftly, seeking the source of the announcement. Emerging from the shadows near the entrance was a figure so small and ethereal that, at first glance, Marcus questioned whether she was real or some projection conjured by the ship's advanced AI systems. She stood barely waist-high to him, her slender form draped in a gown that shimmered with the iridescent hues of twilight, deep violets melting into silvers, stitched with patterns that seemed to move subtly as she shifted. Her skin was the color of polished amethyst, smooth and radiant, and her eyes, large, luminous, and multifaceted, held a depth of ancient wisdom that belied her childlike appearance. Marcus's heart thudded heavily in his chest, caught between fascination and bewilderment. The alien girl's presence was a physical manifestation of everything he had heard in passing about the Velyari, an enigmatic race that had recently been formally integrated into the Galactic Accord. The Accord was a sprawling network of treaties binding species from dozens of star systems, ensuring peace, trade, and often complicated cultural exchanges. One of the Accord's more controversial stipulations, recently introduced to the Terran Federation as part of a broader alliance initiative, mandated that all adult humans stationed on foreign planets with Velyari populations were required to take a Velyari mate, ostensibly to promote unity and prevent xenophobic unrest. But many on Earth privately whispered about political motivations and old power plays disguised as social policies. "My name is Lyra," the girl said softly, stepping forward with a grace that seemed almost rehearsed, yet deeply sincere. "I have been chosen by my people to be your wife. This is not merely a custom, but a sacred obligation set forth by the Galactic Accord. It binds humans and Velyari together for peace, prosperity, and mutual understanding. Resistance is not permitted." Marcus felt a complex tangle of emotions surge through him. The initial shock was quickly tempered by a rising wave of questions, skepticism, and a faint spark of curiosity. How was this selection made? Why him? And what did wife truly mean in the context of Velyari culture? Was this some kind of diplomatic role, a formality, or a lifelong bond that would irrevocably change his existence? "Assigned to me?" Marcus finally managed, voice steady despite the whirlwind inside. "You mean this is mandatory? There's no say in the matter?" Lyra's eyes softened, and she nodded solemnly. "The Accord's laws are clear. This bond ensures peace between our peoples and symbolizes unity. It is both an honor and a responsibility. Your acceptance will be viewed favorably, not only by the Velyari but by the Federation's governing councils." The weight of those words settled like a stone in Marcus's stomach. He was a man who had always valued autonomy and rationality, believing firmly in the right to choose his own path. Yet here he stood, faced with an ancient interstellar custom demanding a lifelong partnership with a being he had just met, an obligation imposed by galactic politics that transcended personal desire. As if sensing his turmoil, Lyra extended a delicate hand toward him, the gesture both formal and inviting. "There will be time to learn about each other, to build trust and understanding. Our people believe in patience and harmony. But the bond must begin now, and I am here to guide you through it." Marcus hesitated, glancing back out at the swirling beauty of Viridia Prime below, a world teeming with unknown wonders and dangers. The galaxy was no longer a distant frontier, but a living, breathing crucible where ancient customs and modern ideals clashed and intertwined. With a slow breath, Marcus reached out and took Lyra's hand, the contact electric and profound. In that moment, his life pivoted irreversibly from the solitary existence of a pragmatic engineer to the uncharted territory of interspecies companionship, bound by laws written in stars older than humanity itself. Over the coming days, Marcus would discover the full depth of what it meant to be bound to Lyra, how the Velyari's delicate rituals hid centuries of strength and resilience, how their minds danced with colors and melodies beyond human perception, and how the fragile threads of trust could weave a tapestry of love in the most unlikely of places. But tonight, aboard the Aurora's Dawn, as the first Velyari bride assigned to a human in decades, Marcus could only stare into the luminous depths of Lyra's eyes and wonder if he was ready for a future written not by himself, but by the sprawling tapestry of the galaxy's ancient alliances. Marcus's mind swirled with 1,000 conflicting thoughts as he led Lyra through the narrow corridors of the starship toward his quarters. The sterile, metallic walls that had once felt like a simple workspace now seemed suffocating, closing in around the enormity of what lay ahead. Lyra moved with a quiet confidence, her small footsteps barely making a sound, but each step seemed weighted with the gravity of a culture far older and more intricate than his own. As they passed other crew members and colonists, Marcus noticed curious glances and subtle nods. Some faces held sympathy, others barely concealed envy or confusion. The Federation's social integration initiatives were well known, but rarely so direct and personal. It was clear that Marcus was now a symbol, whether he liked it or not, of this new era of interspecies unity. Inside his quarters, the walls were adorned with maps of star systems, schematics of communications arrays, and a scattering of personal mementos from Earth. Photographs of his family, a faded baseball glove, a mug emblazoned with the Terran Federation emblem. Lyra paused by the window, gazing out at the swirling green canopies of Viridia below, as if communing with an invisible presence. "Your people value individual freedom," she said softly, not looking at him. "Yet our traditions bind us in ways that transcend the self. The accord was forged from blood and sacrifice, not convenience. This union is a promise, one that will ripple across generations." Marcus swallowed hard, absorbing the weight of her words. He felt an unexpected mixture of awe and apprehension. This girl, this alien bride, represented something far larger than himself, a living testament to diplomacy woven from the threads of ancient history and future hopes. Yet beneath the diplomatic language, Marcus sensed a personal vulnerability in Lyra's voice, a hint that this mandate might not be as straightforward for her as it was for him. "What happens if I refuse?" he asked, his voice quieter now, almost hesitant. Lyra turned toward him, eyes shimmering with an emotion Marcus couldn't immediately place. "Refusal is unthinkable in the eyes of our leaders. But between us, I am not a prisoner of this law. I am a daughter of my people and a guardian of their hopes. I wish for this to be a partnership of respect and care, not just a binding contract. We will learn each other's worlds, and perhaps, in time, hearts." The sincerity in her tone touched something deep within Marcus. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, but perhaps, amidst this strange new bond, there was also a chance for something profound, a friendship, a partnership, a bridge between worlds. Over the next hours, Marcus found himself drawn into the complex rituals that marked the beginning of their union. Lyra introduced him to the sacred Velyari ceremonies, delicate dances that seemed to trace the very fabric of the universe, intricate songs that sang of stars and ancient trees, and shared moments of silence where words were unnecessary. Marcus learned that being a wife to a Velyari was not a mere title. It was an ongoing dance of understanding, empathy, and mutual growth. Though small in stature, Lyra's presence was commanding, her every gesture echoing the wisdom of a culture that revered harmony above all else. As the colony's days rolled forward, Marcus realized that this bond was changing him in subtle but irrevocable ways. The loneliness he had carried through years of deployments began to dissolve, replaced by a tentative connection that felt alien but strangely comforting. Through Lyra's eyes, he glimpsed worlds beyond his own visions of starlit forests where trees whispered secrets, of ancient cities buried beneath emerald canopies, and of people bound not just by law, but by a deep, almost sacred respect for life itself. And in the quiet moments between duty and ritual, Marcus found himself wondering if the galaxy's ancient laws might conceal a deeper truth, that even in the vast, cold expanse of space, the most powerful force was the fragile, unpredictable spark of connection between two souls. Chapter 2. Bound by duty, drawn by curiosity. The sun rose slowly over Viridia Prime, casting its gentle light through the wide, crystalline windows of Marcus's quarters. Outside, the planet's dense forests swayed with the wind, their leaves shimmering in hues no human eye had names for, a natural symphony of color and life. Yet within the sterile confines of the starship, Marcus awoke feeling an unfamiliar heaviness in his chest. It was the weight of expectation, the invisible chains of a bond that had begun with ceremony and ritual, but had yet to settle into the quiet rhythm of everyday life. The small alien girl who had so unexpectedly entered his world was already seated by the window, her violet skin glowing softly in the morning light. Her large eyes reflected the dawn, yet within them danced an unreadable depth of thought. Lyra, as she had told him to call her, was more than a bride. She was an emissary of a civilization whose histories span millennia and whose customs interwove with cosmic philosophies far beyond Earth's grasp. She spoke little at first, observing Marcus with a silent intensity that felt both comforting and disconcerting. Their union, mandated by the Galactic Accord, was not merely a political statement or a cultural quirk, it was a living, breathing contract with consequences that rippled across stars and centuries. Marcus could feel the invisible threads pulling him toward a future he had never envisioned, tethered to this delicate, resolute figure who, despite her youth, carried the weight of her people's hopes and fears. Over breakfast, an awkward affair by human standards, given the peculiar dietary requirements Lyra's physiology demanded, Marcus tried to bridge the gulf between their worlds. He spoke of Earth's sprawling cities, of the endless ocean waves that once calmed his restless mind, of simple pleasures like rain on summer grass. Lyra listened, tilting her head in a way that was both curious and respectful, then shared stories of the Veliari forests where trees communicated through bioluminescent pulses, where ancient beings whispered secrets of the universe in languages made of light and sound. It was a conversation woven of wonder and tentative trust, two souls mapping a bridge across the uncharted territory between species. But beneath the surface, the realities of their union soon intruded. Marcus's colleagues whispered behind closed doors, their speculative glances a constant reminder that he was no longer simply a technician or engineer, but a living emblem of interspecies diplomacy. The Federation's media had already spun narratives of unity and progress, painting Lyra and Marcus as pioneers of a new galactic era, but in private, many envied or resented the sudden change forced upon their routines. Marcus wrestled with the cultural dissonance. The Veliari's concept of marriage transcended human notions of romance or partnership. It was a sacred covenant, a lifelong promise of mutual support, understanding, and shared destiny. Yet Marcus, grounded in Earth's pragmatic individualism, struggled to reconcile his personal desires with this cosmic responsibility. He often found himself lost in thought, questioning the nature of free will and the sacrifices demanded by ancient laws written not by individuals, but by entire civilizations. One evening, as the Viridian twilight painted the sky in surreal blues and pinks, Marcus and Lyra found themselves walking through the colony's arboretum, a vast dome filled with transplanted flora from across the galaxy. Here, amid the alien blossoms that exhaled gentle fragrances and the soft hum of bioengineered fauna, their interactions deepened beyond formalities and obligations. Lyra showed Marcus how to attune his senses to the subtle vibrations of the plants, to perceive the faint electrical pulses that indicated health or distress. She revealed to him the Veliari belief that every living thing was connected through a web of energy and intention, that love was not just emotion, but a force binding the cosmos together. Marcus felt his skepticism melt away in the warmth of her conviction. For the first time, the idea of their bond transcended legal mandate. It became a shared journey into understanding the universe itself. Yet, even as their connection grew, external pressures mounted. Federation officials visited frequently, monitoring the progress of this unprecedented union. Lyra received encrypted messages from her homeland, hinting at political unrest and factions uneasy with the integration of human customs. Marcus was warned discreetly that failure to uphold the Accord's terms could have repercussions far beyond their personal lives, possibly destabilizing fragile alliances and reigniting old conflicts. The knowledge cast a shadow over their fragile companionship, reminding Marcus that this was more than a marriage. It was a fulcrum on which galactic peace balanced precariously. As days turned to weeks, Marcus began to glimpse the complexities hidden beneath Lyra's serene exterior. She was not merely a diplomatic bride, but a warrior of culture and survival, carrying scars of past betrayals and losses. One night, after a rare outburst of vulnerability, Lyra confessed that she too felt trapped by tradition, torn between duty and desire. "I did not choose you," she whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in a storm. "But I choose to walk beside you, to forge a new path for us both. In this vast galaxy, our bond is a beacon. It must not falter." Those words struck Marcus deeply. He realized that their greatest challenge was not the laws that bound them, but the human capacity for acceptance of the unknown, of difference, and of the fragile promise that two disparate souls might build a future together. In the quiet hours that followed, Marcus reached out, his hand finding hers with a newfound certainty. Together, they looked beyond the stars, toward a horizon shimmering with both peril and possibility, bound not only by obligation, but by a fledgling hope that the galaxy's oldest laws could evolve through the courage of a small alien girl and a reluctant human engineer. Chapter 3: Shadows of the Past and the Promise of Tomorrow. The colony on Viridia Prime had settled into a rhythm, a fragile dance between the old customs of the Velyari and the pragmatic habits of the humans who sought to make this alien world a new home. Yet beneath the surface calm, tension pulsed like a hidden current, unseen but deeply felt. Marcus and Lyra's union, once a formality enacted by the Galactic Accord, had grown into something far more complex, living tapestry woven from the threads of their conflicting histories, personal scars, and shared hopes. Marcus often found himself reflecting on how far he had come since that day in the observation deck, when a small violet-skinned alien girl had declared herself his wife. The initial shock had long since transformed into a cautious respect, and even, at times, moments of genuine affection. But the deeper he delved into the mysteries of the Velyari culture and Lyra's own past, the more he understood the fragile weight she carried on her slender shoulders. One evening, as the twin moons of Viridia cast their pale light across the sprawling colony, Lyra invited Marcus to accompany her on a journey beyond the settlement, into the ancient forest that the Velyari called the Heartwood. It was a sacred place, untouched by colonization, where the oldest trees stretched their immense limbs toward the heavens, their roots entwined with stories and secrets as old as the stars themselves. The walk was quiet at first, the only sound the soft crunch of their steps on moss-covered earth and the distant song of unseen creatures. Lyra's hand found Marcus's, smaller but firm, and in that touch lay a silent promise of partnership, a bond that transcended the legalities imposed by politics. As they ventured deeper, the air grew thick with a bioluminescent glow, illuminating their path in ethereal hues of blue and green. Lyra stopped before a massive tree, its bark shimmering with faint light. She placed her palm against it, and Marcus felt a subtle vibration ripple through the air, as if the tree itself was alive and aware. "This is the Elderwood," Lyra explained softly, her voice reverent. "Our ancestors speak to us through it. Their wisdom flows in its veins. Here, the past and future converge." Marcus stared in awe, realizing that this was no mere forest but a living archive, a sacred monument to a civilization whose roots intertwined with the cosmos. But as they lingered, the tranquility shattered. A sudden rustling in the shadows, a low growl that resonated with primal power. Marcus's hand tightened around Lyra's as a towering figure emerged from the undergrowth, one of the native Viridian beasts, a creature as ancient as the forest itself, with eyes like molten gold and a muscular frame rippling with raw strength. Lyra stepped forward without hesitation, whispering a series of melodic sounds that Marcus could barely comprehend. The beast paused, nostrils flaring. Then, with a low rumble, it bowed its head in submission. Marcus was stunned. The bond between Lyra and the creature was palpable, a testament to the deep connection her people held with this world. Yet, as they returned to the colony, Marcus's mind churned with unease. The forest shadows were not only filled with majestic life, but also lurking dangers both physical and political. Back at the settlement, whispers of dissent reached their ears. Factions within the Velyari opposed the human integration, viewing Marcus not as a partner, but as an intruder. At the same time, human colonists murmured fears of losing their autonomy, of becoming pawns in a galactic game far beyond their understanding. One night, Marcus found himself alone on the balcony of their shared quarters, staring at the stars with a heavy heart. Lyra joined him silently, her presence a balm against the cold void. "There are those who would see us fail," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Who fear what we represent." Marcus nodded. "But we're stronger together. Whatever comes, we face it as one." Their hands intertwined, fingers lacing in a gesture that spoke of defiance and hope. As the weeks unfolded, their relationship deepened in ways neither could have predicted. Marcus learned the intricate rituals of Velyari bonding, the sharing of memories through touch, the exchange of energy in moments of vulnerability, the silent communication of thoughts and feelings without words. Lyra, in turn, grew fascinated by human resilience and ingenuity, the way Marcus navigated challenges with determination and humor. Yet, amidst the growing intimacy, shadows from the past crept closer. A message arrived from Velyari Command, cold and bureaucratic, reminding Lyra of her duties and the expectations placed upon her. There were rumors of unrest in her homeworld, whispers of rebellion against the Galactic Accord, and calls for stronger enforcement of ancient laws. Lyra's demeanor darkened as she read the encrypted communique, the weight of her lineage pressing down upon her. Marcus saw the conflict etched in her features, the pull of duty against the desire for freedom, tradition battling with the promise of change. In the quiet hours that followed, they spoke long into the night, unraveling fears and hopes alike. Lyra confessed the loneliness of her role, the sacrifices she had made to be the bride of a human, and the fierce determination to carve a new destiny together. Marcus vowed to stand by her, not as a pawn or symbol, but as a partner, ready to face the storms ahead. Their bond, once forged by decree, was now tempered by trust and understanding. Together, they would navigate the complex web of politics, culture, and emotion that defined their existence. The galaxy around them was vast and uncertain, filled with ancient laws and new alliances, with dangers lurking in shadows and hope shimmering in distant stars. But in the midst of it all, Marcus and Lyra discovered a simple truth, that love and loyalty, born from choice and courage, could transcend even the weightiest of cosmic edicts, lighting a path toward a future neither could have imagined alone. Chapter 4. Forging a Future Beyond the Stars. The dawn over Viridia Prime was unlike any Marcus had ever witnessed on Earth or any human colony. The twin suns cast long shadows through the crystalline canopy of the Arboretum, where he and Lyra often retreated from the clamor of political intrigue and the ever-watchful eyes of the Federation's officials. Here, amid the delicate, glowing flora and the gentle hum of native wildlife, Marcus could almost forget the weight of their union, the galaxy's oldest laws and newest uncertainties pressing down on them both. But the past, with all its lingering shadows, was never far behind. News from Lyra's homeworld came with an urgency that shattered the fragile peace they had carved out. Factions within the Velyari Council, opposed to the human integration, had begun to mobilize. Secret emissaries whispered of rebellion, of ancient rites demanding the severance of bonds like theirs, viewed by traditionalists as unnatural and dangerous. Marcus felt the chill of these threats not just in whispered rumors, but in the cold gaze of those who once smiled politely, but now regarded him with suspicion or outright hostility. Yet, in the crucible of these trials, something profound emerged, a resilience born not of obligation but of choice. Marcus and Lyra, once bound by decree, had forged a partnership of mutual respect, affection, and unyielding resolve. Their days were filled with shared discoveries. Marcus teaching Lyra the nuances of human humor, the thrill of a sunset painted with earthly colors. Lyra guiding Marcus through the spiritual and sensory wonders of the Velyari world, where thoughts could ripple like water and emotions danced as colors beyond sight. Their nights were a tapestry of whispered dreams and shared hopes, their hands entwined as they navigated the complexities of two cultures seeking harmony. But their sanctuary was fragile. One evening, a delegation from the Velyari High Council arrived unannounced, their presence heralded by the low hum of ancient starcraft barely disguised beneath layers of Federation technology. Lyra's expression hardened as she prepared to face the emissaries who embodied the old guard, the guardians of tradition, who saw her union as betrayal. Marcus stood by her side, feeling the electric tension in the air, the unspoken challenge in the eyes of those who questioned his right to stand beside a Velyari. The council's leader, an elder with skin like polished onyx and eyes that seemed to pierce through the fabric of reality, addressed them with a voice heavy with centuries of authority. Lyra of the House Elian, you have chosen a path that defies the sacred laws of our people. Your union with a human is a stain upon our honor, a threat to the harmony we have preserved for millennia. You must renounce this bond, or face the consequences decreed by the accord. Lyra's reply was steady, her voice carrying the weight of conviction. I honor our traditions, but I honor my choice more. This bond is not a stain but a new chapter, a chance for our peoples to transcend fear and division. Marcus is not just my husband by decree, he is my partner by will. The council erupted in murmurs, the chamber thick with tension and disbelief. Marcus, feeling the eyes of 1,000 years of history upon him, stepped forward. I do not seek to erase your traditions, he said firmly, but to build upon them. Our bond is proof that peace and understanding are not mere words, but living, breathing realities. Together, we can face the challenges ahead not as enemies, but as allies. The elder's gaze lingered, searching, before he finally nodded, a reluctant acceptance passing between ancient minds and mortal hearts. Then you shall be tested, he declared. For the bond to be true, it must endure the trial of the ancients, a test of spirit, loyalty, and strength that few have survived. Over the following days, Marcus and Lyra prepared for the trial, their bond deepening in ways that transcended words. They trained side by side, learning to move as one, their minds and bodies attuned to each other's rhythms. The trial was not merely a physical challenge, but a journey into the depths of their souls, a crucible designed to strip away doubt and fear. When the day came, they stood before the ancient gates of the Heartwood, the forest that held the memories of their ancestors. The air was thick with the scent of earth and magic, the trees whispering secrets older than stars. Together, they stepped into the unknown, facing trials that tested their courage, trust, and love. They confronted illusions that preyed on their deepest fears, physical challenges that pushed their limits, and spiritual tests that demanded unity beyond mere words. Through every hardship, their bond held firm, a testament to the power of choice over decree, of love forged in the crucible of adversity. Emerging from the Heartwood, victorious and transformed, Marcus and Lyra were hailed not only as a symbol of a new era, but as living proof that the galaxy's oldest laws could evolve, shaped by the courage of those willing to dream beyond tradition. Their union became a beacon for others, a light shining across the stars that love, respect, and understanding could bridge even the greatest divides. As they stood together beneath the twin suns, hands entwined and hearts aligned, Marcus realized that the trial of the ancients was more than a mere ritual. It was an odyssey through the very soul of Velyari heritage, a crucible that fused history, spirit, and the unyielding will of two beings bound by fate and choice. As Marcus and Lyra stepped beneath the colossal boughs of the Heartwood, the air thick with age-old magic and whispered memories, they felt the weight of countless generations observing, judging, hoping. The forest itself seemed alive, responding to their combined presence with a symphony of light and sound, as bioluminescent tendrils curled and pulsed in harmony with their synchronized heartbeats. The first challenge came swiftly, an ethereal maze of shimmering light and shadow, designed to probe the deepest fears and insecurities that lurked in their hearts. Marcus felt the walls close in around him, visions of isolation and failure seeping like poison into his mind, threatening to unravel the fragile trust he and Lyra had built. Yet, her steady hand in his grasp, her voice a beacon cutting through the darkness, reminded him of the bond they shared. With her guidance, he navigated the twisting pathways, each step a defiance of doubt, each breath a testament to their united strength. Beyond the maze awaited trials that tested not only their minds but their bodies and spirits. They faced challenges that demanded perfect harmony, scaling cliffs that rose like jagged teeth against the alien sky, navigating rivers that shifted and writhed with unseen currents, and confronting illusions that forced them to face not only their fears but the pain and sacrifices embedded in their intertwined histories. Lyra, small yet fierce, moved with a grace born of centuries-old traditions, her every motion a dance of resilience and purpose. Marcus, once a solitary engineer bound by earthly pragmatism, found himself evolving, his body and mind attuned to hers, learning to move as one with a partner who was no longer alien but an extension of himself. Amid the grueling trials, moments of profound intimacy emerged. In quiet glades bathed in starlight, they shared stories, hopes, and fears that transcended language, communicating through touch and shared memories unlocked by Velyari mind-weaving, a gift that allowed glimpses into each other's pasts and dreams. Marcus glimpsed Lyra's childhood, marked by expectations and loneliness, the weight of duty heavy on her young shoulders. Lyra saw Marcus's struggles with identity and belonging, the scars left by years of isolation and a longing for connection. These revelations deepened their understanding, forging a bond tempered by empathy and unconditional support. The final test was the most daunting, a spiritual communion with the heartwood itself. Standing before the ancient elderwood tree, they placed their palms against its luminous bark, opening their minds to the vast repository of knowledge and history held within. Visions of the Velyari's past, the wars and alliances that shaped their culture, and the fragile peace that now balanced on the edge of uncertainty, cascaded through their consciousness. They felt the collective hopes of two species intertwined, the precarious future resting in their hands. It was a moment of transcendence, where choice met destiny, and the power of love challenged the rigidity of ancient decree. When they emerged from the heartwood, the sun had risen to its zenith, bathing the forest in golden light. The elders awaited them, faces etched with awe and reluctant respect. The council's leader, his gaze now softened, spoke solemnly. "You have passed where many have faltered. Your bond is not only accepted but revered as a beacon of what our peoples can achieve together. May your union inspire peace and progress across the stars." Relief and triumph surged through Marcus and Lyra, but beneath the joy lay a profound understanding. Their journey was just beginning. Back in the colony, the union of human and Velyari was no longer a symbol of mere political expediency, but a living testament to the galaxy's capacity for change. The people, once divided by fear and tradition, began to embrace a new era where ancient laws adapted to the evolving truths of shared existence. Marcus and Lyra stood together, no longer bound solely by decree but by choice, love, and an unshakable commitment to one another and the future they would build. As night fell over Viridia Prime, they stood beneath the vast canopy of stars, their hands entwined and hearts aligned. The galaxy stretched infinitely before them, a canvas for dreams, challenges, and adventures yet to come. Marcus realized that his life had transformed irrevocably, from a reluctant participant in an ancient ritual to a partner in a cosmic dance of unity and hope. And in Lyra's eyes, he found a reflection of his own journey, a testament that even in the vast, dark expanse of space, the most powerful force was the light born of connection, courage, and love. Together, they would face whatever storms or wonders awaited, forging a future beyond the stars, a future shaped not by law alone, but by the boundless power of two souls choosing each other against all odds.